Hey, how's it going? Thanks for signing on. My name's Rocco Ferrario, and I just want to take this opportunity to show briefly how to put a Pitsco Raven together. Again, if you're interested in the Raven kit, please contact me personally. Get a hold of me. I got my contact information. On the other video, I have a little intro, so please take a look at that other video. But here's the Raven kit, and here's a built Raven, and I'm going to quickly just show some of the tips. If you're working with your students, a couple little things to pay attention to. So here's the finished product. Here's the kit. When the kit comes, we just open it up. Now, it's important not to throw the plastic bag away. We're going to need that plastic bag. Have your students take all the contents out, open up the directions. There is a little picture of what the plane is supposed to look like. There's going to be kind of a bill of materials here. Make sure everything shows up. I always have the kids keep the instructions close. You can read over them, and also when you get glue on your finger, don't put it anywhere. I always have the kids just put the glue right on the instructions. This plastic bag, I'm going to have this right in front of me. If I'm using an instant glue, the instant glue is not going to stick to the plastic, so I like doing my construction on top of that. So I've got my pieces. I got the wing, got the stabilizer, I got the fin, I got the fuselage parts. Everything is here. I got my rubber band, my red plastic propeller. Of course, forces of flight, lift, gravity, thrust, drag. One of the things I really need to impress on the kids, use that sandpaper and fight that drag. I want to get everything nice and smooth. I'm going to go really fast right now. I'm going to go fast today. But I'm going to have, of course, I'd have my students go a lot slower. Go slow, get everything nice and smooth. Got to fight the fuzz, get everything going. You'll notice on the bottom of the wings, here's a couple lines right here. That's for the dehedral brake. And a couple other small little lines right here. This is where the incident shim goes. One of the first steps I have the kids do after they've gotten all the fuzz off their parts is to do that dehedral brake. You notice that the wing has to have upward sloping wingtips so that as the wing gets knocked over onto its side, this side now has more lift than this side, and it adds stability to the flying airplane. So of course, here's my finished wing. I've got to get these brakes in. This is going to be the bottom of the wing. I get a little ruler, I take my razor blade, I'm going to make a very slight cut right down the line. I don't want to go all the way through. So I get my ruler on there and I do a slight cut on both sides. Little cut here and a little cut here. I only want to go about halfway through the wood. If you've got a TA that really kind of knows their stuff, and sometimes I have my TAs go around and do the cuts for me. Now, you see it's still in one piece. I haven't cut all the way through. But here's the key. This cut, I put this right over the edge of my building board, and as I press down, I crack it. And now, see, it's still in one piece, but I have a nice little crack here. I do both sides, right? I got my line right here on the edge of my building board. Press down. I'm going to take my instant glue, and I'm going to put the glue in on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to get my glue going on both sides. If you're using instant glue, have that paper handy, and then of course you got to fill the crack. Get that crack filled. Crack kills. So I get some instant glue in there. I'm going to place it down on my plastic and measure 2 1/4. So I got my 2 1/4 of an inch. Get a little spritz on there, a little spritz on there. I've got my incident shim, is this small little piece here, and that's going to be glued onto the bottom right down here in between those lines. So I've got that. When that's all finished, I've got both sides done. I've got the glue here. One thing that's really been helping a lot, especially if I'm using white glue, is to get little strips of tissue, or I've even had some of the students cut little 1/2-inch strips of paper straight from the directions and glue it in on both sides of the dehedral brake with a little bit of white glue. If you have a whole bunch of wings, you can take finished wings and stack them on a piece of wax paper just like this and let them dry overnight if you're using white glue. Again, 2 1/4 inch on each tip. So I've got that set aside. Now my wings are done. I get my little incident shim here, little instant glue if that's what I'm using. White glue works fine. Quite often with the white glue, you'll find that if something's not holding, some straight pins, a little straight pin, let it dry up overnight, have the kids work in steps. That's very helpful. Now, for the fuselage is going to be these 3 pieces. This is the main fuselage stick, the 1/8-inch square reinforcement, and the 6-inch wing saddle. I need to form a little bit of an L shape. So quite often with the instant glue, or white glue. I'll put just a thin line of glue right down here along the side, all the way down. Again, I want to have my plastic handy. I take my 1/8 inch square and I place it right down here along the edge. I'm forming kind of an L shape, and then I press it down onto the plastic. Give it a good press. If you're using the CA, the cyanoacrylates, you can get the accelerator. Little spray. It makes the glue set up even faster. Now, once I have that, I've got this little L shape here. Glue that all together. I have my 6-inch wing saddle. Again, fight the fuzz. I can dollop the pieces a little bit, cut off anything that's, sand off anything that's, rough. I usually use about 220 grit sandpaper. This is just some old molding that I had laying around, held on with a thumbtack. I measure 3.5 inches from the front to put my wing saddle on, so I measure my 3.5. A little tip that I like to do is quite often, if I'm using the instant glue, is I'll place the glue on one piece right here. Okay, get the glue on here. And so I got the glue coming down on the side. I'll do a little spray of accelerator on the part that I'm gluing it to. Place it together. And again, press it down onto the plastic. So I'm pressing everything down on the plastic. I'm getting a nice flat surface. That's the surface that I have to have my wing sliding back and forth on. So I take that off and it's all nice. You'll notice there's a little bit of the 1/8 inch square sticking up there. I can trim that off with the razor blade. Get it all nice and smooth. You can sometimes recess this a little bit for the propeller, but I don't have to. I can use that as a reinforcement. I've got my stabilizer and my fin. For the fin, I always want the wood grain going straight up and down. It's so much stronger this way. If I was to accidentally glue the fin on wrong, then this wood is all wiggly. So you always want to maximize your grain of the wood for maximum strength. I put a little piece, I got some glue down here, right down the middle. Sometimes I put a little bit of glue here on the side of the fin. I can do everything at once. Got my stabilizer down here. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way so you can see. I got my, of course I make sure I glue it on the right side. I glue the stabilizer down. I have the fin right along the side of the fuselage sticking straight up. Get it right there, all at one shot. Little spray of accelerator if I'm using accelerator. If I'm using white glue, I can pin the parts down, let them dry overnight. Quite often I've had wires strung across the classroom, a little pin in the fuselage, and I've had the students all just hang their parts, hang it up overnight to dry. And that's a nice way of storing things. Looking from the back, I'm going to want to make sure that I've got everything at 90 degrees. So as I hold this up, beautiful. 90 degrees, everything's 90, everything's nice and square. I've got the wing saddle on top. Right here where I'm going to be putting on the propeller, I can take the razor blade and I can just make sure that this propeller is going to feed on there okay. You'll notice in the directions that this corner right here, sometimes it kind of gets in the way of things. So either myself or a very responsible TA can come around and cut that little corner of the plastic hanger off. Be very careful, you don't want to accidentally do heart surgery. Place a little bit of glue, again here on the fuselage where the propeller is going to go. The propellers really need to have a little bit of glue. If it's just a friction fit, they're going to be coming off. And so I slide that on there. I got that on all nice in one piece. I'm going to take a straight pin and put that at a 45-degree angle just in front of my stabilizer. So I've got this pin goes in. If it's hard to get the pin in, watch this. What I'll do sometimes is press this down on the building board. Get it in at a 45-degree angle, and then either white glue or the instant glue, reinforce this just a little bit. I don't want my pin coming out. A little shot of accelerator, okay? When it comes time to put my wing on, got my incident shim right there. Here's my finished wing. I take my two little rubber bands here, stretch them out a little bit. It's kind of a cat's cradle arrangement. You'll see me coming up from underneath, making a little space right here. I'll slide the wing in, and I usually start with the wing kind of right in the middle. So now I've got my wing on, I've got my stabilizer, my fin, I've got my fuselage, everything's nice in one piece, Anything that's rough, I'm going to sand smooth. When it comes time to put my rubber band together, it's an 1/8 inch strand, really long. So what I'll do is I'll just take the ends and I'll just tie an overhand knot with the 2 ends together. Use a little bit of saliva, get a nice tight knot. Sometimes just for a little extra insurance, I'll do one more knot. I'll cut these loose ends off. You don't want the loose ends hanging. You don't want to give anything a free ride. You want the parts smooth to fight drag. And I don't want to give any unnecessary mass a free ride. So I cut this off. When it comes time to put the rubber band on, I'm going to double it. I'm going to have the knot in back. This little part right up here, this is going to be the front. And I'm going to, now this is key. I'll take this little loop that I have right here and I'll feed it up over my propeller loop, and then I'll pull it back down into the propeller hook. Now I've got these 2 ends with the knot in back, and I'll place that onto my pin. A little bit of slack is okay in the rubber band. That's, you want to get as much rubber as you can. When it comes time for winding, it's key, if you're going to be winding by hand, to, as you start winding, always pull the knots towards the back of the plane. So if there's any knots forming, I want to make sure that this area right here stays nice and clear. So I wind by hand, wind by hand. I look for anything that needs to be sanded smooth. I got to get everything nice and smooth to fight drag. I want everything nice and light to fight gravity. And I want to do everything I can to make maximum lift and maximum thrust. Keep this all nice and smooth. You can wind by hand, a couple hundred turns are fine. When it comes time for launching, remember, this propeller has a lot of torque. And as you let go of the plane, the propeller is going to want to go one way and the plane wants to go the other. So when I go to launch the plane, okay, I'm going to start with the wing right in the middle. I get the right wing tip down just a little, let the propeller start spinning first, and then give it a nice firm toss up and to the right. That'll help counteract the propeller torque. If I'm going to be using a winder, winders are super nice. In fact, I can show you one right now. These are the winders, and you would have a partner holding the front, unhook the rubber band from the back, wind it up from the back. You can get these from SIG Manufacturing, and you can also get these from AC Model Supply. So we've got the planes kind of done. If you launch the plane and you find that it's kind of hanging on the propeller, you've got too much lift. Slide the wing towards the back. If the plane launches and just seems to be nosing down, slide the wing towards the front. You can even correct for turns by moving the wing. If the plane's constantly flying hard to the left, slide the whole wing to the left. That gives that side more lift and should help right the plane. You really shouldn't have to mess with the fin or the stabilizer too much, but you can. Make sure everything's square, make sure everything's straight, make sure everything's smooth and light. Again, you can talk about forces of flight. You can talk about experimentation, center of gravity, but until the kids get out there and actually experience for themselves, it's not real. This makes all of those concepts very real. So we've gone through the kit. We got a nice plane put together. If you have any information that you need, if you would like to have a built example sent to your school, please, call me up. Please call me up. I'm at naparocco@yahoo.com. Please look at my hello video. I've kind of talked a little bit about how I use the plane in class. It's been a lot of fun. I've been using this now for over 25 years. You can get the planes from Pitsco.com or get them directly from me. If you get them directly from me, it's the same plane. I make them for Pitsco. But if you get them from me, you save about almost half. And so, please let me know if there's anything I can do. I plugged this right into my physical science instruction. All my STEM, all my next generation science standards, if I have to do anything on forces, I do it with a Raven. So please, get a hold of me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching this video. Take care. Bye-bye.